All right, Mr. Chavez. The cake and muffins come to a total of 3 shillings, 10 coppers.
There you are, Mrs. Morgan. And thank you again. Barbara is going to love this.
My pleasure. Enjoy.
Pardon me, sir.
I'm sure Barbara will enjoy them, the cow. Oh, Mr. Fordham, welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Morgan. Have you got time for a few more questions, Mrs. Morgan?
Yes, of course.
What can you tell me about your brother?
Ronan was the best brother anyone could have asked for. He took care of me after our parents died. Carriage accident. I was only 9 and he was 13. Ronan went out and found work and managed to support the both of us. He was just a child himself, but he kept us out of the gutter. Or worse, the workhouse.
How did you hear of his death?
Ronan comes by to visit me every day after he finishes work. When he didn't come for 2 days in a row, I got worried. I went to his apartment, but he wasn't there. So I made a report to the police. Yesterday, they contacted me and asked me to come to the mortuary.
I'm terribly sorry for your loss, Mrs. Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Fordham. Please, find whoever did this to him. Ronan deserved so much better.
What do you know about your brother's murder?
Only what the police told me. He was shot at close range outside that pub in the Chum. Nothing was missing, and his wallet had money in it, so they said it wasn't a robbery. I didn't recognize the clothes he was wearing. I had never seen them before, and they were far too big for him. I still can't believe he's gone. He was the only family I had left.
Dr. Edwards at the mortuary might be able to give us some more detailed information. The only thing we'll get out of this one is more tears.
Can you give me the address of Ronan's apartment?
It's at 1172 Bushmill Street. I have a spare key.
That would be most helpful. Thank you. So, this is your bakery.
My husband Gerald and I have had it for almost 10 years.
Is it just the two of you? Do you have any children?
Alas, no. Some extra hands would be most welcome in the kitchen, but we haven't yet been blessed. It's such a shame that Ronan never got to be an uncle.
What are your thoughts on the outcome of the election?
Oh, I haven't given it much thought, to be honest. It hardly seems to matter now.
Yes, of course. My apologies for bringing it up. What sort of life did Ronan lead?
You know, just normal. He'd go to work, come visit me afterwards, and go home. He didn't have much of a social life. At least he never mentioned any friends to me. I always hoped Ronan would meet a nice girl to settle down with, but he was so shy, you know.
Where did Ronan work?
At the Grips Home Taxidermy Shop in Gascone. I always thought it was rather macabre work, but he enjoyed it. Bit lonely, though.
Those are all the questions I have for now.
All right, Mr. Fordham.
Quite the collection of exotic items in here. Ronan appears to be a seasoned world traveler.
Or at least knows someone who is.
Ronan's book collection mostly consists of cheap pulp adventure novels, but this top shelf looks interesting. It's in another language, but it appears to be a Bible. No title, and it appears to be blank. I wonder if Ronan just kept empty books on his shelf to appear well read. No title. It's in another language. This one is scarier than the other masks. Wait a moment. I think I saw something shiny in the back of the mouth.
How about that? A perfect hiding place for a key.
Ronan wasn't too concerned with comfort, apparently. This is hardly bigger than a bunk at sea. Now to find out what Mr. Lespay finds so precious. Looks like you found Ronan's journal. Perhaps this will be able to give us some more insight into what he was up to before he died.
Let's see. October 21st, 1843. The air is growing cold and is reminding me that I need to purchase a new pair of boots for the winter. I don't think this entry will be of much interest. February 24th, 1844. Jimbo has been at sea for nearly 2 months. These long periods away are the most difficult, but all the time seems to disappear when I see him again. My solace is that he will return with plenty of tales of adventure. I can hardly wait to hear them. November 9th, 1843. I have an uneasy feeling of dread today. Last night I had a frightening dream where fire rained from the sky and people were afflicted with an awful disease. I'm just going to focus on my work today. Perhaps the feeling will pass. June 17th, 1843. Someone brought in a rare big-eared hopping mouse from Australia yesterday. Stuffing it was quite a challenge as the organs were difficult to remove without damaging the body. I think I'd rather not read about Ronan's taxidermy process any further. October 21st, 1843. The air is growing cold and is reminding me that I need to purchase a new pair of boots for the winter. I don't think this entry will be of much interest. February 24th, 1844. My solace is that he will return.
Ooh, this teacup could use a washing. I'd be surprised if it isn't permanently stuck to the desk. This one appears. A model of the SS Joondalup. Looks like a merchant vessel to me. They appear to be a pair of letters from Ronan's landlord. It's empty. Aha! A letter from someone called Jimbo?
There are 2 entries, one from this year and one from last.
So, start with last year's.
July 8th, 1843. I've decided I need to get out more, so I'm going to a club in Gascogne tonight. Stuffing animals has taken its toll, and I need to talk to someone who isn't Emily or my coworkers. Gerald told me about a place called the Crimson Cat. I'll try it, and if I don't enjoy myself, I'll just come home. Now for this year's entry. July 8th, 1844. Today is our 1-year anniversary. We're going to meet at the Cat again. I love him, but I wish he wasn't so attached to that place. Emily is so nosy, I worry that she might follow me and discover the truth about Jimbo. If we moved around, I wouldn't worry, but with him, it's always the Crimson Cat. I really shouldn't complain, though. What we have is something truly special.
Well, it seems that our best hope of finding this Jimbo character is to visit the Crimson Cat.
I guess Ronan won't be realizing his world travel dreams now. Death really has a way of messing up your plans. Some kind of owl mask. The hair looks incredibly familiar. This mask looks African. You should try it on. It'd be an improvement. Just looking at this painting is making me feel seasick. Ah, the Crimson Cat. One of my favorite underground clubs. Ooh, I spent some wild nights here. Which reminds me,
I wonder if Stefan is still working the bar these days.
Beg your pardon. Your name wouldn't happen to be Jimbo, would it?
Yeah? Who's asking?
Miles Fordham, private investigator.
Can a guy enjoy his shore leave without being harassed by the law? I've done nothing wrong.
I didn't say you had, and I'm most certainly not the law. I just want to ask you a few questions.
All right, fine.
Do you know Ronan the Spey?
I knew him, yeah.
Knew him?
He and I haven't spoken recently. In about a month, actually. Things didn't go so well last time.
How do you mean?
Let's just say we didn't part on the best of terms. He made it very clear that he didn't want to speak to me again.
Were you aware that Ronan was murdered?
What? No, when? What happened?
He was shot outside a tavern in Chumley 4 nights ago.
Chumley? What was he doing there?
I was hoping perhaps you could tell me.
I honestly don't know. Ronan hardly went out, and he especially never crossed the river.
Why was that?
I think he was just too scared of the world to go out and see it for himself. He was happy enough reading about it in his books or collecting things I brought him back from my travels. Honestly, that's what I liked most about him. He was just an average, boring man. It was just the sort of balance I needed in my life.
That's pretty much the exact same reason I always enjoyed working with you, Miles.
You and Ronan had a special relationship, didn't you?
Mr. Fordham, we're in an underground club. You don't have to tap dance around it. Yes, Ronan and I were a couple, at least up until last month.
What happened, if you don't mind me asking?
We had a misunderstanding. Ronan thought I had been seeing someone else. He was extremely jealous. I tried to explain that he had it all wrong, but he wouldn't hear me out. I was going to give him some time to cool off, but, well, that's not going to happen now, is it?
If it's any consolation, I found a letter you wrote him, which he still kept in his desk.
Damn. Thank you for telling me that.
Where does the name Jimbo come from?
It's just a nickname. My real name is James Bowcroft.
And what is it you do?
I'm a sailor. I thought you detective types were supposed to be extra observant. Shouldn't you be able to tell me what my occupation was just by looking at my fingernails or something?
Sorry to disappoint. Perceptiveness is important in my line of work, but I'm also just a man.
I think perhaps Jimbo has been reading too many of those detective stories in Brentways.
Do you have any opinions about the recent election?
Not really. I'm usually way at sea, so I don't keep up with politics. The sea's got her own laws. Anyway, I can't vote, so it's really none of my concern.
But you're still affected by the decisions the Prime Minister makes.
Not very fair, is it, Mr. Fordham?
No, but hopefully Mr. Leroy will stand up for equal rights.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Attention customers. Use of Dr. Tennyson's figure pills while under the influence of alcohol may cause loss of consciousness. It's nice to see this establishment looking out for its patrons. Seagrave's Stasholine, high-quality mustache wax. You know, I always wondered what you'd look like with a mustache. Fine beer always served here. Good to know. Good old Bollingworth Ale. Unlike so many other things in life, it never lets you down. Well, not while you're drinking it anyway. The next morning is another story entirely. This place has been around for quite some time. That well-dressed feline is Red, the official mascot. Looks like a view of Claremont Street with St. Denis Cathedral in the background. Call me old-fashioned, but I've always felt the piano should be played by an actual human. These automated ones just don't have any soul. Quite the selection. It rivals even the Angel. Looks like they've got Bollingworth, Millhopper, and Brooklyn Lager. Not a bad set of beers.
Hello, and welcome to the Gripsome Taxidermy Shop. Please let me know if I can be of service.
I was wondering if you might answer some questions for me.
Of course. What can I help you with?
I was told Ronan Lespay works here. Do you know him?
Ronan? Yes, of course. That is to say, I know he works here. I haven't had much interaction with him. He mostly keeps to himself.
Does he have an office or workspace I might have a look at?
Now, wait just a minute. Why would I let some random stranger off the street in to look at an employee's workspace?
Because I'm a private investigator and I'm trying to get some information.
Well, even if that is the case, I'm afraid you're out of luck. Ronan does have a workspace, but it's completely bare. He doesn't keep anything here.
Were you aware that Ronan was murdered 4 nights ago?
I had no idea. That's awful. What happened?
That's what I'm currently trying to find out. Do you know if Ronan had any enemies? Anyone who might want to do him harm?
No. As I said, I didn't speak with him much or know much about him. But now that I think about it, I did notice a strange man waiting around outside the shop a few days ago.
Tell me about this strange man you saw.
At the time, I didn't think much of him. But the more I recall, the more I realize he was being very suspicious.
What did he do?
He just stood outside across the street, but he seemed to be focusing on the building. It was as though he was waiting for someone.
Do you remember what this man looked like?
I didn't get a very good look at him, but I do remember some things. He was tall and had a heavy build, like a boxer or a dock worker. He had a beard, I think, or mutton chops at the very least, and as far as I can recall, he was wearing all black. He also had on some kind of cap. I'm sorry I can't give you a better description, but that's all I was able to distinguish. My eyesight isn't very good, I'm afraid.
It'll have to do. Thank you for your help. Anything you can tell me about the shop?
Plenty! This is New Britannia's most sophisticated taxidermy shop. Unlike other taxidermists, we work with modern technology to get results they could only dream of.
What does that mean exactly?
Using steam tech, we are able to create the illusion of life in these beasts. Just take a look at our floor samples. The parrot and gorilla are 2 of our finest works. They really speak for themselves. Well, the parrot does at least. I think it would frighten our customers if the gorilla did too. And once ethericity is harnessed as a viable source of energy, we'll get even better results.
This guy is way too excited about bringing dead things back to life.
Yes, fascinating. Moving on. So how did you get this job?
Oh, it isn't a terribly exciting story, I'm afraid. I just saw an ad in the Gazette for a clerk position. I never expected to learn so much about taxidermy.
I'm sure he's amazing conversation at parties.
Any thoughts on the recent election?
I'd really rather not talk about it. I don't know how the people of this country could put someone like Hart Leroy in charge.
It's obviously because he holds the interests of the common man above all else.
So, you're just like all the other cowards who think steam tech is dangerous. Well, I hope you like the idea of living in the Dark Ages, because that's where Leroy is going to take us.
Perhaps it's best if we drop the subject entirely. Thank you for your help.
I'm here to serve.
Reminds me of the one in the Dupre house, except that one actually looked alive. There's a small button on the base.
Welcome to the Gripsome Taxidermy Shop. Please enjoy our displays and be sure to consider us for all your taxidermy needs. Just a reminder, we stuff animals only.
I wonder how many people it took to bring down this brute. There's a small button on the base. Just when I thought I'd seen it all. What will they think of next? Exotic dead fauna from every other continent. You never even need to leave Vespuccia. That leads into a room with even more dead things. It's such a shame we haven't the time to stick around and explore. Is that supposed to be a lion? To think, in an instant, a man's life can be reduced to some scribbles on the filthy pavement.
Now's not the time to get poetic, Bill.
What a mess. These advertisements are all at least 10 years out of date. Securely fastened, unfortunately for you. If only there was some way to undo these bolts and remove the drain cover. Yesterday's... Is it just me, or does it look like there's something resting at the bottom of the drain?
If there is, I have no way of getting to it through the drain cover.
My, this grog shop looks pretty rough, even by chum standards. Best keep a low profile while you're in here, Miles.
Excuse me, barmaid?
Hi, what do you need?
Were you working on election night?
Pal, I'm here most every night.
So that's a yes, then?
Christ on a cracker, you ain't too bright, are ya? Yes, I was here on election night.
There's no need to be rude about it, madam. Any thoughts on the election?
Nah, couldn't care less, really. Doesn't matter who's in charge. My life ain't getting any better.
Surely it'll get better with Leroy in office.
We'll see.
You know a man named Ronan Lespay?
Nah, never heard of him.
He was killed here 4 nights ago. A man in this Fahrenheit.
Oh, that one. Well, I never saw him before that night, and I didn't talk to him. You with the police or something?
No, not at all. I'm just trying to help his sister find out what happened.
So are you done with the questions? Can I get you a drink or what?
Yeah, she's a shrewd businesswoman. You at least have to give her that.
Tell me what you know about the murder that took place outside on election night.
Listen, chum, do you know how busy we were that night? This was a polling place. We had gents coming in and out for hours, not to mention the regular clientele. I was up to my ass in drink orders and was running the shift all by myself. Had to break up God knows how many fights, too. So you'll excuse me if I didn't exactly notice something that happened out on the street.
Did you at least hear the gunshot?
No, I didn't. You try distinguishing a gunshot over a room full of rowdy voters. It ain't gonna happen.
What can you tell me about this place?
It's a bar. People come here to drink. Sometimes people drink too much, and then they're sick all over. I get the honor of cleaning up the mess.
Sounds like you're not too pleased with your job.
I never said that. There may be rough days, but there's a lot worse I could be doing. Here, I get a place to sleep and a bit to eat and a few coins in my pocket if the customers are pleased. And you are pleased, ain't you, sir?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course I am.
Good.
You mentioned regular clientele. Who are they?
Oh, we get plenty of regulars in here, too many to name.
Which of them were here on election night?
Let me think. I remember seeing 3 of the usual crowd. There was Darius, up to no good as always. Then there was Singin' Tom, but he wasn't around for too long. And how could I forget old Cormac? He'd have talked my ear off if I'd let him.
Sound like an interesting bunch of folks.
Where might I find the landlord?
You won't find him anywhere. He doesn't come around here more than once a month.
What can you tell me about Darius?
Hey now, bucko. You've come in here asking me all these questions, but I ain't seen nothing from you. You want more information? You're gonna have to earn it.
Right. Give me a gin, then.
Coming right up.
Don't get carried away now, Miles.
There you are. 1 gin. That'll be 2 shillings.
There's 3. Now then, about Darius.
Now that man is trouble. I've had to throw him out a few times.
Why do you say he's trouble?
His mind's affected by the poppy seed. He can be gentle as a kitten or fly into a rage at a moment's notice. When he gets rowdy, he gets chucked.
I see. Any idea where I might be able to find him?
Don't know why you'd want to find him, but I hear he spends his day at a smokehouse nearby. I believe it's on Crisparkle Lane. Just look for the door with the oriental symbols above it.
And could you describe him to me?
He's a rough-looking sort, about 55 years old, has a scar on his left cheek, grayish hair, medium build.
Excellent. Thank you. Who is Singing Tom?
Ah, Tom. Not sure what his surname is, but he's in here about twice a week. We call him Singing Tom because he leads the church choir.
Is that right? Which church?
Oh, I haven't a clue. Never really cared to ask.
Does he associate with any of the other regulars?
I've seen him talking with Darius a few times. They seem to be on friendly terms.
Tell me about Cormac.
He's in here most every night. Doesn't speak to many people, just me. And a right chatterbox he is, too. Between you and me, Cormac stinks. I can understand why he doesn't keep much company.
He stinks?
Aye, he's a sewer worker. Spends all his day underground in the muck, so he always reeks of shit.
I see. Any idea where specifically he works?
I believe he's at the treatment station, over near the ferry terminal.
If this is going where I think it is, then I'm especially glad I can't smell anything anymore.
Have you worked here long?
13 years.
I see. Anything else you can tell me about yourself?
I ain't the friendly type.
Right. Understood. I was given the physical description of a man, and I was wondering if you might recognize him if I told you.
Perhaps. Go on, then.
He's tall, strong build, with a beard or mutton chops, dressing all in black and possibly wearing a cap.
Bit vague, wouldn't you say? That covers about half our clientele.
I was afraid that might be the case. Did you notice anyone of that description here on election night?
No. Can't say I did, sorry.
I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Yeah.
So this is what it's come to, eh? Braving the stench of human waste in hopes of finding a lead? Just make sure you stay away from the edge.
Begging your pardon, sir.
What? Who are you? What are you doing down here?
My name's Miles Fordham, and I'm a private investigator. I'm looking for a sewer worker by the name of Cormac.
We needn't look no further. But what is this about?
I just have a few questions for you.
All right. Cormac will answer them, but don't dally for too long. It can be dangerous down here for anyone who's not trained as Cormac is.
You know a man named Ronan Lespay?
Cormac knows few men. People don't much like talking to a man who spends his days in the sewers. Can't really blame him for it. It's hard to get a stink off, so why bother even trying?
You didn't answer my question, though. Do you know Ronan Lespay or not?
Could you describe him? Cormac's got a better memory for faces than for names.
I have his portrait. Here, have a look.
Ah, yes. Cormac saw this fellow recently.
On election night?
That's right. He come into the bar, voted, went out. Looked drunk to Cormac, but then everyone at that place usually is.
Do you frequent a pub called the Silent Raven?
Yes. The Raven is where Cormac goes to forget about the day's work. The barmaid, Nicole, she's a good sort. We likes talking about the ponies down at the track. Nicky loves her some racing. She gives Cormac drinks for cheap in exchange for odd jobs. Nice to have your own personal sewer man, I suppose. She's really the only one Cormac talks to. There's a few others Cormac sees often, but Cormac hasn't spoken with him.
Cripes. This guy goes on, doesn't he? To be fair, you were warned.
Do you know anything about the murder that took place outside the Silent Raven on election night?
Murder? Ah, yes. The commotion out in the alleyway.
That's right. Did you see or hear anything?
It was a touch noisy that night, what with all the election stuff happening, but Cormac remembers the sound of the gun. One shot, and then shouting and hollering from the bar. A few people run outside to look at what happened, but Cormac just stayed in his seat and finished his whiskey.
So you didn't see the man who was shot, or who shot him?
No, keeps to himself, Cormac does. Makes life easier that way.
Could he be any more unhelpful? Actually, it's probably best not to find out.
Is it difficult being a sewer worker?
Difficult? Nah, it's a dream. Especially since they introduced all these steam tech treatments and purification whatsits. The only thing Cormac's got to do is check the little dial never goes into the red on old Belinda.
Belinda?
Aye, the purifier. She's a real special lady who's made Cormac's life so much brighter. Cormac makes sure to thank her each and every day.
Wonderful. We're talking to a lunatic.
Wasn't so easy a few years ago. Back then it was tapping on pipes all day.
Tapping on pipes?
To make sure they was flowing fine and not blocked. Cormac would take his little hammer and tap, tap, tap on the pipes to make sure they was ringing fine. You can imagine what that was like. Tap, tap, tap. Ring, ring, ring. All day, up and down, over and over. The tapping stopped, but the ringing never left. Still hears it to this day, Cormac does.
Do you have any opinions regarding the election?
Cormac hears lots of things about Atwood, but he's the one what's got this new machinery put into the sewer system. There's still a job for Cormac, so all that talk about being replaced by machines is just talk, for now. But Leroy says he wants to give the workers their fair chance, so Cormac can't argue with that. What about you?
I think Leroy will be a good prime minister.
Bah, they's all the same in the end. One way or another. No point worrying, says old Cormac.
I wonder if you could tell me if you saw a man of this description at the Silent Raven on election night. He's tall, of strong build, with a beard or mutton chops, dressing all in black and possibly wearing a cap.
Oh, aye. Cormac remembers seeing a fella like that.
What was he doing?
Kept going in and out of the bar. When he was inside, he stood near the voting booths, hardly moving a muscle.
And when he was outside?
That, Cormac couldn't say.
Did you notice anything else about him?
Yes, Cormac noticed him come in and speak with Nicole, the barmaid, after the commotion outside.
Is that right? That's very interesting. Would you be able to remove the cover of a storm drain?
Yes, of course, sir. Cormac's got the right tool for the job. Just a few twists from old Mary here and any drain will open up like a Christmas rose.
Excellent. Would you be able to open the storm drain outside the Silent Raven?
Suppose so, yes. But Cormac ain't allowed to just open up drains as he sees fit. What do you want this drain open for?
I believe there's a vital piece of evidence at the bottom of the drain.
You don't say.
It's quite true. It may even help me solve a murder.
Well then, in that case, Cormac will get the drain open for you. Come on, there's not a moment to lose. This it then?
That's the one.
Right, won't be a moment. There we are.
Thank you for your help, Cormac.
Not a problem. Now, if you don't mind, Cormac's just going to pop inside for a quick pint.
Detective work is a dirty job, but someone has to do it. Don't forget to roll up your sleeve.
I really hope there's something down there. Ugh. This is almost as bad as the time I had to search for that stolen necklace in a pile of horse manure.
I'm really glad I didn't draw the short straw in that case. Well, how about that?
Wish the police had found this so I wouldn't have to carry it around.
Nothing else down there but dirty water.
Let's not stick around here if there's nothing more to ask about.
Excuse me, barmaid?
Hi, what do you need?
You know that description I gave you earlier? Of the tall man in black?
Yeah, what about it?
I spoke with Cormac, and he told me he saw you speaking with someone fitting that description shortly after the murder occurred.
And you believed him? Cormac's a good sort, but he's not exactly reliable.
I'd say he's twice as reliable as you are. Now tell me the truth, or I'll have you in as an accomplice to murder.
All right, relax. I don't know the man by name, but he came to me after the commotion outside and paid me a few crowns to keep my mouth shut about it. I didn't ask any more questions, and I wasn't about to refuse some extra cash. That was that, I swear.
That's not good enough. I need some way to find this man. Is there anything else you can tell me?
Well, I did notice he had a scar on his left cheek. Kinda looked like a shepherd's crook. But that's all, really.
I suppose that'll have to do. I appreciate you taking the time to chat.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like cleaning up is high on the list of priorities around here.
Yes? What do you want?
I was told this was the place to come if I wanted to ride the dragon.
Oh. Well, why didn't you say so? Please, come in.
Excuse me, I'm looking for a man by the name of Darius.
Well, look no further. Welcome, friend. Sit, join me.
I'll stand, if that's all right. I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions.
Questions are the path to enlightenment. Answers fly by as birds on the breeze. What will a caged bird sing? That is the true question.
Wonderful. He's as high as a kite. This is gonna be worse than pulling teeth.
Are you familiar with a man named Ronan Le Spay?
I know many men. Some old, some young, some rich, some poor. Some I know by name, some by face. But this man you speak of, this Ronan, he is unfamiliar to me.
I have a ferrotype. Do you recognize him?
Forgive me, but my eyes are blurry. I cannot make out his features.
Well, he's useless, isn't he? Too bad there's no way to snap him out of it, like there was with Dupre's kid.
I was wondering if you could tell me whether you saw a certain man at the Raven on election night. He's tall, of strong build, with a beard or mutton chops, dressing all in black and possibly wearing a cap.
Lots of people like that go to the Raven. I see loads of them every night. But now that you mention it, I do remember someone like that. He was a strange one.
How so?
I remember one of the times he came in, he was adjusting his hat. I could have sworn when he took it off for just a moment, his hair was bright red.
How is that strange, exactly?
Because his beard was jet black. It was the oddest thing I'd seen. Well, it was the oddest thing I'd seen, until his beard slid halfway down his face.
I see. Well, thank you for the information.
Wonderful. This testimony is about as useful as a hole in the head. Then again, there might be something to it.
Do you know anything about the murder outside the Silent Raven on election night?
Murder? Was it a murder?
It was. A man was shot in cold blood.
That would explain the commotion, as well as the sound.
So you heard the gunshot?
I did. I thought it might have been one of the voting machines making the noise, but then there were shouts, and people began to run.
Did you see or hear anything before you heard the gunshot?
I seem to remember hearing a man shouting a name.
A name?
Yes. It sounded like Priscilla.
Well, how about that? He's managed to be of some use after all. Assuming he's telling the truth, of course.
And does the name Priscilla mean anything to you?
Afraid not, young man.
What can you tell me about the Silent Raven?
Ah, the Raven. My home away from home.
I would have thought that was this place. Unless this one is just the home.
Do you have many friends there? People you speak with often?
Yes, friends. I call them friends anyway, but really, what is a friend? Someone who drinks with you? Someone who shares secrets with you? Are those friends? My father used to tell me that the only two friends you had were your mother and the crown in your pocket. Well, both of those are gone now, so what does that mean for me?
I don't know, sir. I'm just asking about people you speak to at the Raven.
The barmaid, Nicole, she gets mad at me sometimes when I break things. But she's all right.
Have you ever conversed with a patron called Singing Tom?
Singing Tom? You mean old Tom Puffin?
I'm not sure. I was just told he was called Singing Tom and was a regular at the Silent Raven.
That's the man. I see him in here all the time.
In here, not just at the Raven?
Tom is a child of the poppy, just as I am. He truly understands the world as it is.
Do you know where I might be able to find him?
Yes, he's the choir master at St. Denis Cathedral. That's where he spends his time when he's not here.
You mean to tell me we have to talk to another one of these loonies? Wonderful.
Do you often come to this establishment, Darius?
Oh, yes. This place is better than any doctor or hospital. It has exactly the cure I need.
Cure? For what?
I'm ill, sir. Just as you are. Just as we all are. Infected by a terrible disease known as life.
Speak for yourself.
But spend a few hours in here with the intoxicating nectar of the poppy, and you'll find nothing can defeat you.
So did you manage to get out of here and vote?
Please don't bother me with such trivial matters. Why should I care who leads the government? As long as they don't outlaw places like this, they can do whatever they please.
Is this guy ignorant or just apathetic? Yeah, well, I don't know, and I don't care.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, young man. May you find peace and happiness.
I beg your pardon. Are you Tom Puffin?
I am. How may I help you?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. I wanted to ask you a few questions.
Questions? Have I done something wrong?
No, Mr. Puffin. I simply believe you may have some information that I need.
Very well, then.
What were you doing on election night, Mr. Puffin?
Election night? That was ages ago, wasn't it?
It was 4 nights ago, to be precise.
Oh, you have to understand. I have trouble recalling what I ate for breakfast this morning, let alone what happened 4 nights ago.
Well, isn't that convenient?
Do try to remember, Mr. Puffin. It's quite important.
Well, I know I voted at my local polling place, the Silent Raven. And then... I'm not sure, actually.
Do you know anything about the murder outside the Silent Raven?
Murder?
Yes, a man was shot. Did you see or hear anything?
I don't remember. I don't think so, no.
How long were you at the Raven that evening?
Not very long, I don't think. I went, voted, stayed for a drink, and then I left.
You recall what you did the rest of the evening?
Not specifically. I probably went home and went to bed, like I always do.
Do you recognize the man in this photo?
Is that? No, never mind.
What is it?
Well, for a moment, I thought it was someone else, but I was clearly mistaken.
So you don't recognize this person, then?
Afraid not. Who is he?
His name is, or rather was, Ronan Lespay.
What? Is he dead?
He is. I'm trying to find out who killed him.
Well, I hope you find your man, Mr. Fordham.
Are you in the habit of using opium, Mr. Puffin?
What? Well, why would you think that?
I met your friend Darius. He told me you share a pastime.
All right, yes. I do enjoy a visit to the opium den from time to time.
From time to time? More like morning, noon, and night.
Have you found the drug has had any adverse effects? Memory loss, for example.
I admit I'm not quite as quick as I used to be, but without it, I'm in constant pain.
Is that right?
I fell off a horse when I was 15, and ever since then, my back's not been right. The doctors haven't been able to help. Poppy is my only comfort. I wish there were another way.
It might be worth seeking a more professional opinion about the effects of opium.
Does the name Priscilla mean anything to you?
Priscilla? What does that have to do with anything?
The name has come up in my investigation. Is it someone you're acquainted with?
No, it isn't. I don't know anyone by that name.
He certainly seemed concerned about her, though.
How did you become choir master of this church?
Oh, well, I studied music at the University of New Britannia. Once I completed my studies, I began writing symphonies in hopes of securing a patron, but I had no luck. So I decided to focus on choral compositions. I sent a few pieces to the bishop, and he offered me the position.
And you enjoy it?
Oh, yes, sir, immensely. I'm able to continue composing songs for our choir, as well as teach music to our young members. I take my church duties very seriously.
What else do you do besides lead the choir?
Just a few things here and there, making sure the aisles and the pews are clean, tending to the prayer candles, that sort of thing.
So, what do you think of the election results?
All right, the election. Who won?
Leroy. He beat Atwood by a significant margin.
Oh, I suppose that's good. I think I may have voted for him, but I'm not sure.
I'll let you resume your practicing, Mr. Puffin.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Prayer candles? People think lighting one of these is going to solve their problems. If only it were that easy. Also, what happens if they go out? Does that mean your prayer gets canceled? Shh! What? It's an important question! The more I think about it, the more I want to test my theory about prayers being canceled if the candles go out. Well, that's all of them. Hope you made a wish.
Could I have another moment of your time, Mr. Puffin?
Yes, I suppose so.
It seems that all the prayer candles have gone out.
Have they? Blast, I keep saying there's a draft, but nobody's done anything about it. Excuse me for a moment, won't you?
Let's hope this... This looks like the nicer of the two angels. This angel looks like it would throw its lamp at you as soon as you turned your back on it.
Could I have another moment of your time?
Yes.
Do you know anyone named Ned?
Ned? Well, yes, I do. My nephew, Ned Bunkridge.
Your nephew?
Yes? Why do you ask?
Where might I find Ned? I'd like to speak with him.
Is everything all right? Ned hasn't gotten into any trouble, has he? I always tell him just because he's training his body, that's no excuse to pick fights.
No, he hasn't gotten into any trouble.
Oh, well, he lives in Lyon, at 511 Parkside Terrace.
Right. Thank you for the information. I'll let you resume your practicing, Mr. Puffin.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Right this way, sir. Mr. Bunkridge is in his gymnasium.
Thank you, my good man.
Well, you take a look at this place, and take a look at him. Maybe you should consider doing some training yourself, Miles. You aren't getting any younger after all.
Excuse me, Mr. Bunkridge.
Oh, hello. Who are you?
I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator. Your valet let me in.
Right. Of course. What can I do for you?
I have a few questions for you, if you'd be so kind.
Yes, all right. I could use a bit of a rest anyway.
Are you familiar with a man named Ronan Lespay?
Never heard of him.
I have his portrait. Maybe you recognize him?
No, I've never seen this man before, but... Huh, how about that?
How about what?
The detail in this ferrotype is a bit fuzzy, but his facial features and hair, they vaguely resemble mine.
You know, now that he mentions it, it's true. Lespay does bear a passing resemblance to this fellow. Not quite as handsome, though.
So, you know nothing about the murder outside the Silent Raven 4 nights ago?
That's right. I don't even know what the Silent Raven is.
It's a bar in the Chum.
Well, that explains it. For one thing, I don't go to that part of town. A man like me sets foot in that den of ruffians, and I'll have every Tom, Dick, and Harry challenging me to a fight. Not that I couldn't take them, but I have better ways to train my body than beating thugs. Anyway, I don't drink. Dulls the mind and softens the body.
I see. Well, just thought I'd ask.
I'm sorry I can't help you, Mr. Fordham, but I hope you solve whatever it is you're investigating. You seem like a nice enough sort.
Tell me about your uncle.
You know Tom?
I've met him, yes. He's the one who told me where you lived.
Oh, right. Well, my uncle is, an interesting man.
Is that an interesting of the good or bad variety?
I really wish he would take better care of himself is all. I have the feeling that he's on some sort of drug, although he always denies it.
What gives you that impression?
Well, most of the time he acts completely normal. He goes to work, visits with me. Sometimes we go out together to the theater or a gallery. But some days his mood changes. He goes very solitary, won't leave his house, gets short with me. One time I went to visit him, I heard him yelling along with what sounded like furniture being knocked about. It only happened once, but it worried me. I hope Tom isn't in any sort of trouble.
Opium is one hell of a drug. It's a good thing you never got to that point with the soporific, or Adelaide would have thrown you out much sooner.
Are you all right, Mr. Fordham?
Yes, I'm fine.
What, too soon?
Could you give me Tom's address?
You don't have it? I thought you said you'd spoken with him.
I visited him at the cathedral.
But if he's there, why do you want his address?
I have reason to believe he may be somehow involved in a murder.
That's a serious accusation, Mr. Fordham. What proof do you have?
Nothing concrete just yet, which is why I'd like to investigate his home.
Well, you're not the police, so I'm not obligated to tell you. I'm sorry, but you'll need more than just a suspicion to convince me.
On second thought, never mind. Does the name Priscilla mean anything to you?
Yes, it most certainly does. My lady love is named Priscilla Poundstone.
I see. What can you tell me about her?
Oh, she's a darling. I love her very much. Such a kind and gentle soul she is, too. Loves animals, especially dogs. We've been together for ages and are due to be married soon.
When was the last time you saw her?
Saw her? Oh, no, Mr. Fordham. She doesn't live in New Britannia. She attends Miss Threadneedle's Academy for Young Ladies in Cormorant.
She lives in New Holland?
That's right. I've never actually met Priscilla face to face. We communicate exclusively through correspondence.
How did you two get involved?
Her father and mine were old military friends. They decided between them that their children would be engaged.
And you're both in agreement?
Yes. I admit at first I was a bit hesitant, but we share many of the same interests. The distance between us is not a detriment to our love.
I wonder how that will change once they actually begin cohabiting.
So you correspond regularly with Priscilla?
That's right. At least one letter a week. My uncle does me the kindness of acting as courier.
Do you think I might have a look at one of those letters?
What for? They're private correspondence.
I understand, but I feel this is important. Perhaps you could show me one that isn't too personal.
Yes, I suppose that would be all right. In fact, I think there's a recent one on the shelf there. That's not too private. But you won't need to take it, will you?
Not at all. I just want to have a look. You're very into physical conditioning, aren't you?
Oh, you noticed. Yes, I believe that a healthy body is just as important as a healthy mind, if not more so.
Well, he's definitely prioritizing the former.
It's important to keep fit, especially at a job like mine where I'm in a chair most of the day.
What job is that?
I'm a clerk at the Bank of Vespuccia, but someday I hope to leave and teach others about the health benefits of regular exercise. Perhaps even open up my own gymnasium.
Ha! He actually thinks people are gonna go for that? Good luck to him.
How do you feel about the election outcome?
I'm disappointed. Atwood may not have been the greatest PM, but he was pro-steam tech. Sure, the Lygia incident was a tragedy, but people are too quick to judge. Steam technology is a boon to mankind. It's already enriched my life considerably. It's a shame the progress is going to be held back because of one isolated occurrence.
Thanks for your time.
Not a problem.
Wait just a minute. Something's off here. The handwriting in this letter is different to the one we found before. There's something strange going on with this Priscilla.
Could I ask you a few more questions, Mr. Bunkeridge?
All right, but try not to take too long.
About your uncle's address?
What about it? Why do you want it?
I think there's something going on between him and Priscilla.
Something going on? What do you mean?
I found a letter addressed to you from her at the cathedral, and the handwriting is different to the letter you have here.
He has one of her letters? Why would he?
I'm not sure, which is why I'd like to search his home and find out more.
If he's going behind my back, I swear I'll...
Calm yourself, Mr. Bunkeridge. If I find anything, you'll be the first to know.
All right. Tom lives at 117 Gimlet Terrace in Worcester.
Hey, you're practically neighbors.
Here, I've got a spare key. If you find anything about him and Priscilla, you'll tell me, won't you?
Of course. Thank you, Mr. Bunkeridge. Thanks for your time.
Not a problem.
Nice place. Tidy. Nothing incriminating that I can see.
People rarely leave anything incriminating out in the open. It's time to have a look around.
Puffin's Daily Planner. The man leads an even more boring life than you. Who knew that was even possible? Huh. I was wondering when he was going to show up. So Puffin plays at home, too? His poor neighbors. Puffin's music room is a bit lacking in comparison to the one in the painting. The look in her eye tells me she's probably hiding something. Music books. Clearly Puffin has never touched them.
It's empty. It's empty. It's empty. It's empty.
No point wasting time searching Puffin's bedroom. I have a feeling that if there's something to find, it's here in the sitting room. A statue of Eros, I believe? God of love or lust or something. Man babies in diapers never did much for me. That's odd. There are some scratches on the floor next to that statue. How about that? Looks like we found singing Tom's buried treasure.
Let's just see what we have here.
Interesting stuff, but what about the box itself? It seems Puffin's gun has gone missing. He should really take better care of his things.
Nothing else in there. Too bad. A statue of Eros, I believe? God of love or lust or something. Man babies in diapers never did much for me.
He hasn't got anything else to tell us right now. He won't be much more help.
Well, what?
Right. You know.
Well, that's a relief. Can we talk for a moment?
Certainly.
You wouldn't happen to know anything about Ronan Lespay, would you?
Probably nothing more than you already know. His body is in the mortuary, and the reason for his murder is unknown. I suggest you speak with Dr. Edwards.
I'm guessing you can't go over this case with me either.
I have to distance myself completely from this one. So when you figure it out, you'll need to speak directly to Mrs. Morgan. I can still try and help you if there's something specific giving you trouble, though.
Upton, I need you to put out a bulletin. There's someone I need found.
Oh? Who's that?
I don't know his name. I only have a description.
All right, I'll need to ask you a few questions. Could you describe the man's height and build?
He's tall, with a large build.
All right. What color is his hair?
I'm certain it's red.
All right. Do you know of any unique details that might make him easier to identify?
Yes, he has a scar on his left cheek in the shape of a shepherd's crook.
Good. That will be helpful. All right, I'll put out the... All right, the bulletin is out. I'll let you know if...
Upton? Just got your bulletin.
Hello, Giles. Have you got something for me?
As a matter of fact, I've got someone in the jail fitting your description perfectly.
You don't say.
Yup. Name's Harvey Presser. Got picked up a couple of days ago.
Thank you, Giles. You heard the man, Fordham. You've got yourself someone to interrogate over at Bow Street.
What brings you back?
I'm looking to speak with your prisoner.
Presser? I just got off the horn with Upton about him. Seems you're not the only one interested in finding the man.
Then I suppose it's lucky I got here first.
Suppose so.
What was he brought in for, exactly?
He's the suspected leader of a cooping gang. Makes me glad I didn't bother to vote. All those dirty politics are just a waste of time.
And people wonder why nothing in Parliament ever changes.
Harvey Presser, I presume.
Who's asking?
Miles Fordham. I'm a private investigator.
What do you want from me?
Just a few minutes of your time. You don't have anywhere to be, do you?
Hardy-ha. Ask what you want, but I'm not answering anything until I see a lawyer.
Do you recognize the man in this ferrotype?
Should I?
His name is Ronan Lespay. He was shot outside the Silent Raven on election night.
That's a real shame.
Are you saying you know nothing about the murder outside the Silent Raven on election night?
Not a thing. I've never even heard of the Silent Raven.
Is that right? Because I've spoken to at least 3 people who swore they saw you there that night.
Yeah, and you're not police, so that doesn't scare me. You can't do a thing about it.
This guy's starting to get on my nerves. There has to be a way to make him talk.
I hear you were arrested for leading a cooping gang. Is that right?
I don't have to tell you a thing. You're not a copper.
That's all the questions I have for now.
Good. Leave me in peace.
It's empty.
Ronan wasn't too concerned with a model of the SS June. It's empty save for a nice collection of dust.